Welcome to another edition of XFeed. Today, I'm not showing my face. Welcome to the metaverse. One day we'll have an avatar or something in there, but we have a massive storm out here. Is obviously anybody that's been paying attention to the Weather Network and excited for some football playoffs tomorrow. No, things will get interesting. So if this feed does drop out at all, sorry, CAC W, power went out. Who's the best account to learn about trading crypto, perpetuals, and futures? I've always been a buy and hold guy. I saw this today. I saw somebody in my Discord ask the other day about looking and trying to find out, okay, like who's traders, who can you follow and whatnot. And I feel like everybody's kind of feeling a little bit more comfortable with wanting to get levered up, even though they're seeing the massive cascade. And honestly, a lot of people kind of getting wrecked at the same time for what's going on over in the Blur section. I posted a tweet earlier today highlighting from somebody talking about how NFT finance is going to be a big thing. We think we've seen volatility right now. It's about to get significantly worse. Daniel here. Damn, I was going to change my PFP soon back to my normal human meat suit, but now it would look like I changed it because the price is down. FFS. Got to keep it until we pump at least 10% back up. Now I can't change on a red day. That's cowardly. Thought this was kind of funny, but as we mentioned yesterday, CloneX, one of the collections have been having a little bit of a tough time with the blur farming or potentially lack of interest. Hash Bastards here highlighting the MoonBirds minted for 2 ETH. The peak was at 50 and the floor today is at 1 ETH. Kevin Rose getting a hell of a lot of flack, and really the only thing to look at with these things is like how much the initial sale was and then kind of what the follow-up was. Obviously there was IRL events that were canned, and some of the MoonBirds nesting rewards still doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but still a lot of people were into MoonBirds, and I'm curious if they're ever going to come back. I very much am. Is it something that's going to be led by Kevin or not? Now, Peter Schiff would not be somebody that would buy MoonBirds or any NFT, or for argument's sake, pretty much any crypto, but he has a point here saying Bitcoin has already fallen from just above 49,000 yesterday to just below 42,000 today. That's over a 14% decline. It could be a long weekend for Bitcoin bulls. If the new Bitcoin ETF gap way down on Monday, it will be interesting to see how investors react. I doubt they'll hodl. And I generally agree with this sentiment. I feel like we've seen and highlighted on this show people's screenshots with family members, friends saying, oh, this Bitcoin ETF, it's going to be amazing. This is great. And it sounds like it's the first time certain people are doing anything within the crypto space. So their first reaction seeing this massive volatility swing, I think, is going to scare a lot of people out of the market that are newer. So Helen here highlighting that Alex Becker was talking about some things that he's getting into. Thesis still the same, gents. Invested / added another couple 6 figures in seed games, AI, an insane new gaming chain this week. It's happening. Stay the course. So I don't think he means like the new gaming chain came out this week. However, we'll get to announcement in a second of a gaming chain. We're seeing a hell of a lot of things with Arbitrum, and overall, I've seen a lot of successful mints of things that are working on games. Yo, Scudshot, what's going on? How are you, Boston? Again, for anyone just tuning in, I'm not using my webcam today just to be a little bit different and pretend that we are in the metaverse. So this is kind of funny, and I'm only highlighting this because I feel like a lot of collections do these kind of things where it's like, hey, here's an extra perk, and it's like a Discord rule, right? In appreciation of our earliest supporters, 3 new Discord rules are available. First, Explorer, Polkadot Settler, and then Parafarm. Unless these give you something, I mean, listen, I don't know, dude. A little bit of a color change on my name ain't going to do a whole lot for this. Adam Hollander highlighting a mint that ended up doing relatively well, wanting to talk about it for a quick second because I think it's kind of funny the way that NFTs are. Suddenly, we have a whole bunch of liquidity that people are ready and willing to spend on things. But this minted out early at 0.045. The floor is now 0.375 ETH a few hours later, almost a 9x. So what is this? This is from Amber Victoria. She's an artist, poet, and author, as per the X bio. The way that I originally ever heard of her was actually at VCon. Gary had her up on stage, and her whole thing is kind of like more bright and colorful things. I guess if we're going to look like a generative collection, we'd say that it's very doodly-like, but very colorful in a sense. And so I guess she launched these characters, dots with eyeballs or whatnot. But again, holy shit, NFTs are back if these are mooning. Goodness gracious. All right. We'll talk about Yuga here because things are always fuddy here in the swamp. I don't get it. Every time I open my X feed, it's like literally just pure BAYC FUD. And I'm like, man, there is almost near zero value being added on the timeline. But of course, that's why we got the show and why we bookmark the things that are good. But no, either way, let's talk about it. I honestly hope Yuga was waiting for the whale that tried to leverage trade 400 mutants into an announcement to get fully wrecked before making an announcement. Going to be a lot of new members tonight. So this is where things get interesting, right? Because everybody talks, people sign these NDAs, and it's something that's like, okay, was something leaked to somebody and they were like, hey, this announcement of other side is coming. And they're like, oh my goodness, we need to jump into this, because at a point, certain announcements actually skyrocketed projects back in the day. Not really anytime recently for the most part, but back in the day, we really saw a huge uptick from significant announcements, and potentially this was one with them showing the island per se that was going to do that, or maybe just somebody was randomly feeling like they wanted to get into it. So maybe that's why Yuga's taking a huge cascade from the 400 here. But not gonna lie, this is so embarrassing. Yuga buys 10 KTF a few months ago and literally drives it into the effing ground. Crazy, because it was my last high conviction project 18 months ago. These were at 1.5 floor. So this is another point where everybody's out there and they're very hyped up about certain collections, and you feel right. So if you follow me, I've been talking about Fluff World, and currently I'm like, damn, this is right, because, you know, the price is up, things are looking good, yada, yada, yada. But at a point, right, like 10 KTF here was kind of in that same reign where I was like, holy geez, we need to let everybody know about 10 KTF because it's doing so well. And then obviously the acquisition with Yuga, it's huge, and that should help it out. But obviously things were kind of put on pause. We then kind of go into the arguments of, okay, well, I mean, it takes time to build things and yada, yada, and it's worth the wait. But that's, you know, NFTs, collectors, investors, whatever you want to call it, and waiting, not the greatest combo. Now, I want to go way, way back. When I first got into the club, I actually held a show where we interviewed a whole bunch of different apes, and the video is actually on my YouTube channel if you want to go back. It's called the Bored Ape Hotline, but this was back in 2021, and we had a whole bunch of different apes on the show, and that was one of my first attempts at kind of running like a broadcast, if you will, and I thought it went over really, really well. So if you're wanting to check that and all my other videos, be sure to check out the YouTube page and just scroll for a while. Okay, so we mentioned Valhalla like once a few days ago, and I was like, damn, it hasn't been talked about a while. But a great follow on the timeline is Da Vinci Threads, and I messaged him, and he's down to come on the show sometime soon. I do have an interview with him from the past, but basically he finds threads, he writes threads, he does kind of everything, and he's almost like an NFT historian here. So quickly going through, what is Valhalla? It's a Web3 brand for gamers and the first NFT project released by Stack Studios. Valhalla and Stack Studios intend to build stacked in quotes, Twitch for Web3 gamers. And that was kind of the big aspect. They ended up partnering with some esports orgs, and their idea was, again, kind of building like this decentralized Web3 Twitch. Stack, the video and live streaming platform intended to be owned and operated by its content creators. Early beta targeted for end of Q1, which would have been in 2023, and I don't think we're anywhere near that, or at least I haven't seen the timeline talk about it. Stack Studios intends to launch by growing streamers organically from its own community. This is always something that's kind of hilarious, because, okay, sure, you might have a handful of people that can do that within your community, but you're going to need to attract a fair amount of people from outside of that realm. Potential benefits for Valhalla NFT holders: landing page positioning for PFPs, selling rights to gaming companies and streamers, exclusive or early access to Web3 games, specific in-game drops during streams, events, and tournaments. And for the supply, the primary sale is 9,000, then they had a daily auction of 1,000. They had a team in here where they kind of highlighted, but some of them are from MIT, Carnegie Mellon University, I have no idea what that is, and Riot Games, and Ecole NFT, was recently announced as a community manager, and they have a few other things that are highlighted in there. And they raised 15 million, which, when we're looking at the grand scheme of things within the NFT space, I mean, Jenkins got, I think, about 15 millions, and they were building out IPs and books for an entire streaming platform. You know, looking back, it feels like 15 mil really isn't a whole lot. So curious to see how Valhalla performs going into this year, because again, it didn't seem like they meant that benchmark that they originally set last year. So coming across this, and I was like, holy sweet mother of pearl, this is a unfortunate situation, but I'm also kind of like dumbfounded reading this. So this is one of the hardest posts I'll ever have to make. I've been lying. Sometime between 11/09/2023 in Denver and 11/10 in Chicago, I lost my ledger. I don't know why you would ever bring your ledger anywhere. It's kind of the first thing that I saw. I've been praying that someone would find it and turn it in to anyone important. I've called the train stations and bus station I went through. I backtracked 2 hours across Chicago when I first realized that it was missing. I've called police departments. I've called everyone I could think of. It's gone. I've kept quiet, hoping it would show up and not to create a wild goose chase across several states. Now, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but the only reason that I'm really mentioning this is because security is paramount. If you're bringing your ledger anywhere, like, I mean, just don't, like, I mean, traveling, you lose things all the time. That just seems horrible, especially if you have a lot of valuable resources on that. Unless you're moving, then that's a little bit of a different story. I want to do a little bit of an esport talk here, and you got to bear with me because this is going to take a minute, but I think this is going to be literally the perfect time for what's happening in esports and what's happening within blockchain gaming. So Call of Duty League, they have their main Call of Duty, which is kind of like the big rosters, where if you've seen Overwatch League or League of Legends, there's, franchising, essentially. And they have a challenger scene, which is like, hey, if you're trying to be an up-and-coming player within this league, you don't make the pros, you're able to compete for money, and so have it as a career, so you're not just stuck doing content creator. And if you're actually wanting to compete, you have that opportunity. However, it was announced today that there was only going to be 2 challenger circuits at like the 5 or 6 big CDL events. And so during an off-season meeting between the league and the players, one pro player asked about challengers. They were met with the response, "You're not playing there. Don't worry about it." So it sounds like for the CDL, they're basically kind of shutting down the path to pro. Kind of. Now, with that said, we have Evil Geniuses here, who's recently just left the League of Legends scene. And apparently they've just left the Counter-Strike scene and everything else last 6 months. But they still have their Valorant roster. Why? Well, probably because things aren't profitable. Now, one of the biggest esports orgs out there is Optic, and they are one of the biggest in terms of following and whatnot. And we've seen a couple times where they've had Jersey Nights with the Texas Rangers, and they just showed that they were having this Mavs X Optic, where for the Dallas Maverick games, apparently the first 500 tickets will get limited edition Optic X Mavs jerseys. Okay, so this is a collaboration that I think is kind of cool. Do we see more of this? Well, maybe. In the esports scene, Cagel, one of the biggest streamers that's out there, he's partnering specifically to cover a team. So this goes into, content creators and the power that they're going to have in a struggling industry. And then for the collabs we just talked about, we're seeing 100 Thieves partnering with Adidas Originals for their esports jerseys this year. And we've seen, obviously, Adidas massively in the realm of partnering for NFTs just in the space in general, yada, 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 yada. So again, interesting kind of points. I just wanted to highlight there that, esports is in a weird spot. NFTs and like blockchain gaming is in a weird spot where it's supposed to explode, where another one has exploded in the past. But, how do these connect? How do these connect? As of today's close, Microsoft is now the world's most valuable company, overtaking Apple. And somebody said that this was because of like their investment in open AI, but either way, still rather big news on that front. Gilded Guardians, holy mother of pearl. Guardians, mark your calendars. Exciting news awaits. A regional test launch in January and a global launch in the following quarter. Get ready for an epic gaming experience. Stay tuned. So this was one of the first projects that I was super high on, was Gilded Guardians. It's supposed to be this mobile game. They had a ton of esports orgs that were also backing it. They did NFT mints that were kind of collabs and obviously showcasing both the brand, and if you happen to mint a certain one, you got a tour and flown out to see one of the facilities. And again, it was cool, but Gilded Guardians, again, having a massive following, apparently has a ton of signups, potentially one of the games that really gets, mass adopted in a way. And of course, it's unmutable and going to be one of the flagships on there. So knowing that they are going to be launching next quarter, that is spicy. Happy 2-year anniversary, Azuki. So what in the hell is this? Let's take a look.
Standing in front of the gate, I think of the day you disappeared. Life was hard growing up, but you always took care of us. You kept me safe, whatever it took. Then, you found the garden. You told me stories of the world beyond the gate, the relics you found there. But what really mattered was that we could sell them to get by. Things got better. Until you found the sword. You told me it was dangerous, but it spoke to me. I thought it could get me into the garden too. I should have listened to you. Maybe the shadows wouldn't have come. You fought them back through the gate. And then you were gone. They came for the sword. They took you too. I kept waiting for you to come back. Maybe you just lost your way. Weeks became months, and months became years. You never returned. Then one day, the sword reappeared, and with it, my way into the garden. I took the red bean and went through the gate. Now, I could see the garden for myself and find out why you never came back. This world is amazing. Your stories were all true. But there was one thing I could never have expected. Ryzen, what have you become?
So we're getting pretty much everybody making these announcements, these trailers, etc., and it's like, okay, progress is really happening. And it's funny to think of just the heights of the assets of what these collections were at the peaks of people believing, hey, this is going to be the next big IP, the next big franchise, etc., etc. And so from you watching that, do you believe in your heart of hearts that that could theoretically be one of the big next massive IPs in the entire world? Alpha alert, Azuki's just dropped a big announcement, but many are overlooking a key element: the partnership with Fenwick West. Why? Fenwick is a huge law firm that specializes in, among other things, blockchain and token launches in the United States. They were instrumental in the ApeCoin launch and have worked with many of the largest crypto companies in the space. Basically, what they are doing is they advise companies on Web3 and tokens, to quote the Azuki announcement: as we continue to grow the Azuki ecosystem, excuse me, we've engaged with Fenwick West to build the decentralized future of anime. Do you think that I think? Do you think what I think? I don't know. Does that mean that they're going to do something with IP rights? Because Raven Ape's saying, okay, here's the similarities. There's the announcement for Azuki, and way back in the end of 2021. To do this, we're working with Fenwick West, the legal team that represents many top blockchain projects. They also partner with Horizon Labs. But they're saying when token. Okay. So I guess does that confirm that Fenwick is involved with them because there is a token that is launching, essentially, is what the alpha, if you weren't picking up what that is for. Kevin O'Leary here on the Bitcoin ETF.
You're a purist and you're just holding Bitcoin for the long term as a digital gold, as I am. I would never buy an ETF. Why would I pay these fees? It's completely unnecessary and they add no value to me. The great news is, in this event, is it shows a march forward on regulation towards
True.
cryptocurrencies. In addition, I would hope this re-energizes Congress to look at digital payment systems like tokens around USDC, for example, which is based on the US dollar as a payment system. That has been out there. The Stablecoin Act has been kind of delayed, but now we have this momentous occasion, which is great, but we're way early. We're in the first inning. And regarding 11 of these ETFs, not a chance they all survive. You should be watching AUM, assets under management. Maybe 2 or 3 will win. I would bet that behemoths like Fidelity and BlackRock end up on top because they have massive sales forces. But if institutions don't care about this, they don't care because they would never buy an ETF. They'd never pay the fees. The great news is that it's a signal to them, and particularly sovereign wealth, which I deal with. They like this development. This is a good thing for them to eventually get into crypto, that the SEC has finally approved this. Does that allow you, as the Norway pension or the Abu Dhabi or the Dubai fund that has never held it, to put on a 0.5% or 1 or 1.5% weighting, which would be a tremendous boom to what the price appreciation could look like over the next 2 years?
So going into the Bitcoin discussion here just for a second, and I agree with this take that it's legitimizing the asset and making things a little bit more interesting. We listened to Fred Kroger yesterday, but he has some more thoughts on this. Don't judge this BTC IPO too quickly. GLD, I think he means gold, launched in November of 2004 at 45 and spent 1 year going nowhere. It hit 180 in 2011. I have no idea what GLD is. Never mind. I think gold's way higher than that. Facebook IPO'd in May 2012 at 38, traded down to 20 and took 3 months to get back to 38. It's currently at 374. Google IPO'd in March 2014 at 28. It was flat for 1 year. It's currently at 144. Yo, NFT responsibly. What's going up? You could drop in a new coin, has an ape lost 90% of value. No, that was, sorry, that clip was regarding Azuki. We think that Azuki is going to drop a token. So if you're seeing some massive Azuki movement, that is the case because they announced that they're working with Fenwick West. And the previous time that we saw Fenwick West in a big way was Ape saying that they were saying when token, and then they included Fenwick within that same conversation. So basically, he's just saying we've seen things lay flat with certain IPOs related to Bitcoin, and then boom, there it goes. So more things here. When the gold ETF was approved, there was an 8-year bull market to precede it to go up 420%. This is different. When the gold ETF was approved, nation states already held massive quantities of gold. Gold was already widely held. Gold was inflating at 2% per year. When the Bitcoin ETF is approved, which was, nation states own basically none of it. Fewer than 1 million people will own a whole Bitcoin. Its inflation rate is 1.8% and soon to drop by half. If this ETF doesn't make you massively bullish, then your brain isn't very good at thinking about things. Stay safe out there. It's not going to go in a straight line in either direction. So nation states already held massive quantities of gold. This is making me think where I don't know where I read it, but apparently like Canada has like no gold. They sold off their gold reserves a while ago. Do I think that Canada has any Bitcoin allocation? I doubt it. Do we know that some other countries have it? Correct. So if Bitcoin ends up becoming a big player in whatever mantra, like I think that it's very interesting that it's true. Gold was widely held back when it was approved. For this, I don't think Bitcoin is whatsoever. I would like to welcome everybody to the world of TradeFi and ETF/portfolio rebalancing. BlackRock needs to buy weakness. Grayscale needs to sell strength. Flows you can't see or understand. Isn't it great? Again, if you don't know who Bill Noble is, he's another person that does kind of YouTube commentary for crypto, mainly crypto, not necessarily Web3 overall, but a great watch. And I did post his technical analysis of Root the other day when I was watching a stream. He did it for me, which I thought was really cool. All right. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink says that a tokenized system can eliminate all corruption. What a headline. Is this just clickbait?
Term, do you now expect other cryptocurrency ETFs? Meaning, do you think that Gary, and we'll talk to him later, Gary
like Ethereum
will have to approve an Ethereum ETF? And is that a function of something the SEC has to do, or do you think that all these things have to go to court first?
I couldn't respond to that. I see value in having an Ethereum ETF. As I said, these are just stepping stones towards tokenization. And I really do believe this is where we're going to be going. We have the technology to tokenize today. If you want to talk about, think about this. If you had a tokenized security and you have a tokenized identity, you, Andrew, the moment you buy or sell an instrument, it is known. It's on a general ledger that is all created together. You want to talk about issues around money laundering and all that. This eliminates all corruption by having a tokenized system.
Jamie Dimon disagrees with you on that, but, or at least longer term.
That guy disagrees with them? I mean, maybe. I guess, like, it's the aspect of, like, do people have these, like, fake profiles? I mean, I guess that would be the biggest thing. But generally speaking, right, you're able to look up what people are buying and selling. I know a lot of the times there was when the NFT market was going crazy before, anybody that had like a larger following, if they talked about something and then they sold it, they were immediately ridiculed because it was on chain and people could see it, right? So, I mean, I kind of agree with them for the most part. But again, you can tokenize a lot of things moving forward. Now, this is something that's very interesting, and people that have been buying and holding things or aren't really looking for the newest thing within the market might not realize, but you could have been buying Colony PFPs for less than $1 a few months ago. Now they're $1,000. So this is similar almost to NBA Top Shot, where I really kind of got heavy within the NFT space in the first place. And I was like, damn, these moments are like $2, $3. I mean, there's not that many of them. Damn, if this sees like explosion, then you're like, oh my God, okay, this is starting to get on the news. More users, holy shit, the market's ripping, yada, 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 yada. And so everybody's looking for kind of the next variation of this. And there's going to be a few of them, right? Like it's not like this is never going to happen again. But just kind of food for thought here is that there is collections out there that are wildly undervalued, and if you've done your due diligence, and even if they're a higher price than this, and you're like, hey, like I think the demand for this is going to be cool. A lot of this is based just on Providence right now, where this is kind of, everybody's saying, hey, say it's going to be this next big thing, and this is the first collection on there. Are these going to actually do anything ever? Is it just the Providence aspect? Again, I still go back to the fact that I think it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic of NFTs moving forward. Blockchains are very silly places to do illegal things. NFT responsibly, truly. And on that theme, don't know who needs to hear this. Stop buying into old blue chips from the last bull run. At best, you make a 2 to 3x if a project makes a comeback. Risk-reward ratio is not looking very attractive. Now, why is this? It's because a lot of these collections really haven't done things that people thought. Now, at that same argument, we can say, okay, well, look at Azuki, look at pretty much all these collections that are having a flood of announcements to start 2024. I think everybody was waiting for the markets to become better. When we do see these NFT finance and leverage protocols come back, what's the first place that they're going to go? They're not going to go for these new collections. There's a chance, but I mean, I would argue it's way safer to go into these other things. And with those, with that leverage trading occurring, essentially, I think that it's going to be interesting how this looks, right? Because right now, sure, it's a 2 to 3x or whatever, but when we get into these loans, like it's always almost like Azuki, Pudgy Penguins, Bored Ape Yacht Club. It's all the older stuff. It's very rare that we see a new collection get added to be able to be borrowed against in any way. Gaming is not a meta. Okay, dude, what do you mean by that? But cash grabbing projects using cheap games to extract your money won't be able to do so for much longer. Okay, is a little bit of FUD. Signs to look for before gaming NFT liquidity gets rugged. Okay, the project's marketing tactics. Games want money just like traders do. They also know that screaming token will attract a lot of easy capital. Truly. When companies make it all about the token, people will dip after any airdrop. Truly. Find projects that aren't obsessed with tokens. Games building for 1 to 2 plus years. These games are just way further in their development. They have established communities versus the projects only filled with addicts looking for the next hit. Plus, we know they aren't reviving dead games to take your money. Truly. The game itself, do they actually have a game? Is the game just another generic shooter or TCG? And again, I've kind of always been like, damn, there seems to be like a lot of trading card games out there. How many of them are going to be sustainable? Can it compete with the Web 2 equivalent? Great answer. But again, as long as you have some kind of Web3 component, I still think there's enough of people to kind of make a gamble out there, but that's not what the thread's about. The moment people sober up, liquidity will leave the low quality copycats first. Again, true. I think like quality really matters. You might see something that does well, you'll have FOMO, it'll be on the timeline, but is it actually quality or does it just have the social currency to be at the place that it does? Gaming is one of the most clear use cases for ownership and open trade. It's more than just a meta. True, I think it's a lot bigger than that. Still, cash grabs will always have success and usually come in waves. Time is ticking on wave 1 of this cycle. Finally, some gaming NFTs are better to hold, but most are only for flips. That's interesting. There's no shame in playing the trading game. Just don't forget to protect your liquidity, friends. Okay, so little insights there from Hunter Solaire. I don't know. What's the thoughts on this? I mean, I think we do have a lot of people that are kind of YOLOing, being like, oh, gaming meta, this is exciting. Oh, it's backed by Animoca. Oh, it's backed by Binance. Oh my God, Ubisoft's involved, yada, yada. But I mean, yeah, we'll kind of see. Introducing a new gaming creator economy, Island. In just 5 days, the open beta play to airdrop campaign gets underway. Here's what you need to know. Nifty Island is a community-first gaming platform allowing users to build their own islands, explore player-created islands, and play multiple game modes. Compete for rewards, create games, avatars, and weapons. And obviously, they've got a lot of kind of partners or highlighting other NFT collections within this. Collaboration. Some of the biggest NFT IPs are on board, including BAYC, Cool Cats, A Kid Called Beast, and recently announced Chimpers. Now, something just to kind of like argue about for a second is we're talking about like gaming on a whole, right? Well, what about gaming that integrates all these other IPs? Is it something that's actually going to take off? Are people going to care enough and be like, okay, I have a Chimpers, I can play in this Nifty Island game. Is that greatly enhancing my thing? Am I only buying this to use within this game? Or is it just kind of like a nice little side piece? Gameplay. Whether you want to create your own island or join others, Nifty Island has something for everyone. Build your own island, battle royales, racing, capture the flag, spy hunts. One of the recent episodes of XFeed, we went over like a platform that kind of had something where it literally offered all of these. It didn't include any IPs, but it was basically the exact same offering of that with a different bit of a look there. And yo, Brian, the NFL superstar, what's going on, my guy? Rewards. Win valuable prizes with Nifty Island, offering deep game utility, ETH rewards, palms, and much more. Play to airdrop is all about rewarding play, creative, and participation. So again, if we see a lot of clips about Nifty Island on the timeline, I'll be very curious because arguably this has the combination of X amount of communities, right? Where it's like, hey, you have your avatars, you can play these things in it. Does that create a sensation? Does that get players, or is that just kind of a way where we'd be like, oh, I have an NFT in that, let me pay attention to what they are doing? Now, we talked about Tin Fun the other day and saying how it was all over your timeline, and to be truthful, I really haven't seen it over my timeline, so not really sure if I don't have too many people that got into it, but Tin Fun is now trading at 0.88, which is an 880% increase from its mint price of 0.1. Holy sugar shit. Background: Tin Fund is an NFT collection featuring 10,000 unique items. Its vision is to celebrate and showcase the richness of Eastern culture heritage through high-quality artwork combined with innovative blockchain technology, creating a distinctive PFP NFT project. Now, would you argue that this is distinctive compared to a lot of the other ones out there? I mean, I feel like people right away go to like the Azuki type theme. Obviously, this is a little bit different, but we have the weapons in there, maybe Valhalla, kind of combination of a couple things. So, mint mechanic. Tin Fun introduced an innovative whitelist mechanic for its minting process. Participants had the option to deposit 0.1 ETH to enter a lottery system. This approach ensured fairness and transparency, as those who did not win the lottery were able to claim a refund. All-time holder trends. Tin Fun has 6.66 thousand holders, which is massive in the space, to be honest. Like, that is a very, very high number. 3 whales and 347 blue chip holders. What the hell does that mean? These statistics position the collection at number 1316 in NFT Go's whale market ranking and 670 in the blue chip ranking. Guys, what the hell is a blue chip considered in 2024? Like, genuinely speaking. All-time holding trends. Despite the incredible run, most holders have retained their NFTs since the mint, with 85.80% not selling. Additionally, the distribution among unique holders remains well-balanced, standing at 78%. Activity in the past 24 hours. In less than a day, Tin Fun generated 1.41K ETH in trading volume and now boasts a market cap of 8.2 thousand Ethereum. That is absolutely crazy. So again, I'm surprised I haven't seen this more over my timeline. I really thought that I was going to, but damn, did it ever absolutely moon after we talked about it. So Animoca Brands, we highlight about the fact that like everybody talks and is super excited about Animoca, but apparently Animoca, at least it looks like, is also partnered with Root in some way, because their official Animoca ecosystem insights thing highlighted that on November 21st, Root launched by Featureverse, and then just kind of explaining what Root is. So again, curious to see if the market picks up on that aspect. Now, save $300, ladies and gentlemen, on what exactly? If you want to go and see Kathy Wood and Michael Sonashine talk at Mainnet 2024, save $300. So what do you think the price of this event is going to be? Let's click on this right quick, do a little bit of a gander. If we go to register now, $699 US to go to one of these speakers in person. Holy crap. I just saw this on my timeline. It's pixel of like a polar bear and a fat rat eating some pasta or noodles. I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool. Wanted to share. If you know this location, you're positioned well for the competitive environment of the future. If you don't know what this is the RuneScape Grand Exchange, where you're able to sell different items, and it was kind of the marketplace of what we have within the NFT space today. And there's a lot of people that grew up playing there at that time. So some kind of just talks here. Combination of farming and over-leveraged lending is currently crushing apes and mutants, and it's sad. Don't get me wrong, I've used Blur 0% loans many times, but I never take a loan I can't pay back in case of emergency. So then there's a response here saying, sir, the farming aspect is holding the floor up. The over-leveraging is what's causing cascades. The reality is many projects are hideously overvalued, and holders are starting to realize this each month. And I mean, again, we go back to, okay, like it was relatively quiet the past year for most of these collections, and now all the announcements are coming. So do we have the sentiment that everybody believes that things are overvalued right now? Or is it the mindset of, hey, you know, things are coming, this is bullish, and then you have the two and the people with leverage, yada, yada. Web3 has failed. Shit. Coming from someone who was previously so bullish, here are the 3 reasons why. Okay. First, let's define the vision of Web3. Core principles: permissionless ownership, liquidity, interoperability. The future of how we as humans interact online across all industries: gaming, music, VR, news, media, art, communities, real estate, etc. I was a firm believer in this vision, and he puts a whole bunch of things about like why he thinks this is going to be good. From Q1 2021 to Q1 2023, VCs invested $47.8 billion into Web3 and crypto startups. What came from it? Nada. Okay, so it's wild to know that overall, within this space, $47.8 billion has been invested through the startups. I mean, do you agree with them that like nada's come from it? I mean, you could say nada from that much money for sure. Why did Web3 fail? Use cases, user experience, user intentions. Number 1, use cases. How many decentralized apps do you use day to day? How often do you use your NFTs? Now ask that same question to someone outside the bubble of tech Twitter. It's 0. The use cases were only there in theory but never worked in practice. Sending money, gaming, communities and DAOs, real estate, social media, news, and traditional media. Why does blockchain make those experiences better? Answer, it doesn't. Web 2 already solved the problems consumers needed. Oh, and as of this week, it didn't work for X either. As we talked about yesterday, they removed the NFT profile picture. Son of a bitch. Number 2, user experience. Even if a use case was there, Web3 UX sucked. Setting up wallets, exchanging one crypto for another to use a different dApp, chaotic mess. If you built a dApp on a chain that doesn't catch the wind or happens to be a scam, you're effed. Then for consumers, if you lost your password or seed phrase for your wallet, well, you're extra effed. 2FA on Web 2. Heart. User intentions. People in Web 3. Real crypto visionaries and builders, adopters there for the vision, invested in crypto and NFTs to make money, created NFTs and crypto projects to scam people. Sadly, I feel like overwhelming majority of people fit into number 3 and 4. And then he's going to leave these here and picture of Duquan, Logan, SBF, and I have no idea what the hell this thing is. When it came to NFT projects specifically, 99% of people didn't want NFTs because they were useful. People wanted to resell them. It's ironic because the ethos of Web3 felt like it's all, or let's all own a piece of the pie. Instead, it became let's day trade the pie and get rich. The only use case I see for crypto as of now, hedging against inflation, especially in countries with hyperinflation and unstable governments. Assuming that humans will inherently never have perfect financial institutions, crypto will always come in handy here. In an ideal world, some of the core principles of Web3 would not come to fruition. Maybe I'm calling the race too early. After billions invested and no real day-to-day application, I think it's done. Only time will tell. I thought that was a great little rant. Again, hard to argue with a lot of the points within this, and goes back to, okay, let's just say that all these things and these day-to-day use cases and whatnot have been secretly building in the background, and we are going to have this big impression, these big changes and everything within 24. Maybe this isn't as relevant, but for now, I'd say it's pretty accurate. 2 years ago today, Steve Aoki stopped his show to celebrate his doodle. The transaction is one worth noting, in my opinion, only 10 alien doodles. So Steve Aoki out doing a concert, highlighting everybody, I have a doodle. Did you know that not all CryptoPunk NFT zombies have red eyes? Wait, what? There's a zombie with white eyes. Look at that. Holy shit. Let me introduce you to 7127, the only zombie with normal eyes. For the nerds, this is actually a really cool detail with the layering, as it shows the black and white parts of the eye here are the only eye mask trait which covered the red eyes on the zombie head base. So, today you learned that there is one zombie that doesn't have red eyes. Whack me. Update. The Shadow Hats Ordinals dropped by Forgotten Runes sold out, raising 120 Bitcoin, otherwise 5.5 million. Okay. I am ignorant, arrogant, uninformed about everything Bitcoin Ordinals, admittedly. However, the headline here speaks to me because I have a Forgotten Rune, okay? And they showed like their alpha game, they had like a thing, and it was cool. And they're doing like a comic and all this stuff. But ultimately, people have made the comments about these projects, these collections, these companies need to find a way that's sustainable, that's beyond royalties. That's a hell of a way to figure out how to be sustainable if you're able to sell another collection on Bitcoin when your main collection's on ETH. I mean, they just got $5.5 million of funding from Art knowing the technical capabilities. Like, that is crazy. And I don't think we see many teams able to do that in such a technical fashion. Now, something's a little bit less technical here. We brought it up a few times. I don't have any of these, but I think it's just kind of funny, is the Pokemon Ethereum names out there. Arcanine apparently just went for 3 ETH. So a lot of you guys, if you're following, listening, that are a part of Root, if the .root names come out, don't forget all of those Pokemon names, because on ETH, holy sugar. Yo, Bush'em. I don't know if you're watching this live, but thank you so much for the subscription there on YouTube. You are a legend. Y'all ain't ready for this. Cool Cats X N-Way Play NFT finally got the opportunity to not only play the beta, but play with multiple Cool Cat community council members in the beta. The game is legit, and everyone will be happy with not just the Web3 people. So this looks like a Cool Cat that's in a bubble. This person's running away, potentially on rollerblades. Yes, yes, yes. And then somebody throwing a balloon. So I don't know if this is going to be kind of like a not a shooter game. You know what I mean? Like it's like a shooter game, but it's like water balloons, right? Like how do you how do you change that and make it rated E for everyone? So curious to see what happens with that. But I think a lot of people do forget that Cool Cats is launching a game. Every Web3 game is having emergency meetings right now, trying to figure out how they can profit of this market after seeing Age of Dino mint out at $1,500. Be ready to not get burnt with ETF approved. We probably have a few more weeks of gaming season. So we talked a little bit earlier about this notion of gaming, the liquidity that's going on with it, what's getting built. It is crazy that we are seeing some of these newer mints come out at such astronomical prices after we've had basically a year of people saying, yo, we want free mints. We don't want this, like can't pay for it, yada, 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 yada. I don't know. Today, the same team behind Hypetopia GG is announcing HighChain, a gaming-focused L2 powered by the force of technology. We've developed and enabled to enable mass adoption Web3 games like TryMetaFab.com and more, utilizing Topia. Follow HighChain Games for more details. So again, earlier we highlighted the Alex Becker tweet saying that he was getting in on this new gaming chain. This was announced yesterday at 8:59 a.m. But checking out MetaFab here, frictionless blockchain games built with MetaLab. I have a fair bit in here. I don't know how much we want to go through, but let's just blend blockchain and visibility into the backbone of your games. Designed for all developers, we support 10 plus programming languages and have complete Unreal Engine and Unity SDKs. Managed wallets and external wallets generate player wallets automatically and support external wallets through MetaMask, Coinbase Wallet, and Wallet Connect. Write one set of code for interactions with any wallet type. And full interoperability between games. Leverage infrastructure that works seamlessly across partner ecosystems and other MetaFab games. Limitless opportunities for cross-pollination and collaboration. I think there's going to be a ton of big things that happen within the space. These new chains, everything again, the start of 2024 here is shaping up pretty crazy. You could replace the word BAYC here with so many other quality projects. It's not the project, it's not the team, it's part of the cycle where NFTs get wrecked because coins are up. Truly. If you're panicking over having locked liquidity in NFTs, worried about missing other things pumping without you, de-risk a little, you'll feel better. So again, basically the tweet under this is just highlighting like FUD, this, that, and the other thing, but very much agree with this. We're seeing crypto rip, NFTs take a huge hit, but again, if crypto goes high enough, well, then people are like, damn, where do we go? And that is NFTs. So this is a game that I believe is by Ubisoft here, and it's supposed to be for blockchain. So watch this. It's 2 minutes and 15. Do you get bored? Do you think this is cool? Gotta think about it for a second. Feels rather slow paced. Not that's necessarily a bad thing. All right, we're not going to watch all of that because I feel like that's going to be way too slow. But again, this is for the watch. And it's on, or at least you can wish list on the Epic Games Store. Step into the first competitive battle game made for ETS and mobile players. But yeah, I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be integrated within the blockchain space, but it doesn't highlight that. So maybe they're trying to keep it just a little bit of a secret. Now, I like the Solana phone every once in a while because they're getting free airdrops, and they got another one here, the Less Effin' Gas. This is something that came out the other day. I think it went terribly. I think they came out and then the prices like rocketed, doubled for a second, and then completely crashed. Basically, it was just an attempt for this protocol, whatever it is, or just like a free airdrop that's a meme coin. So they can say LFG, like let's effing go. for Ethereum whales. Basically, if you spend like X amount of gas on ETH, you're able to get this airdrop. And here they're getting more people into it with the Saga holders. So again, huge downward pressure for the amount that they're giving out. Curious to see at a point if there is any kind of utility, or do they just hope that it is a meme coin? Who in the halibut still calls it Ether anymore? Apparently this was on a news channel, CNBC. They have Bitcoin, Solana, and then Ether. We just call it Ethereum in these parts. And I want to end you on a little bit of a security mention. Next video is going to be even funnier. I'm going to sim swap people live. Oh, you don't want to be affected by this? I'm glad you care all of a sudden. Go to your X settings, remove your phone number now. Good job. Took literally 3 seconds. Congratulations. You can't get sim swapped. Tell a friend, do it yourself. Pay attention. All you need to do is remove your phone number, as I always do at the end of these shows. And throughout it, if you are able to tell one friend, share the stream with them. They might enjoy it. We're going to be here every single day, Monday through Friday, but that's going to wrap up this week of XFeed. Maybe on Monday, we're going for a haircut. We'll get the webcam back up. I appreciate you guys if you're tuning in live, Scudshot, and if you responsibly miss your Brian. Enjoy your weekend, especially if you are an NFL fan, and I will see you next week. Peace.